On my way down the road, I had to put the sunglasses away. It was sunny a minute ago. Now, as I start down the turnpike towards the meadows, few little droplets on the window. Chance of rain today as we get to the meadows. So, not really the end of the world. It's 22 degrees out. There's a chance of a little bit of rain. I'm not really that worried about it. Obviously, we got per lucky today. But last night, we'll start with last night. Slim Jimmy was very good, as many of you guys saw. I want to say he was real good because he was quiet at the gate. Usually you can get a little agitated and want to get out of there. Very quiet, methodical last night. Was that him a little flat because of what he went through? You know, you have to understand that high white count of 12 or 13 was never really diagnosed what that was, except for you could see it in his blood. He was treated. We treated his blood accordingly. The veterinarian did. And the white count came down, but it was never really found. Was this viral? Was there something going on with this horse? It wasn't in his feet, his legs. It wasn't under scope in his throat or his lungs. Just a high white count. So it was kind of weird. You know, he may have had, maybe he got the monkeypox. I don't know. Didn't see any monkeypox. Either way, he got over it, right? And raced well last week. And a lot of people said last week he seemed a little flat. Of course he was a little flat. You guys have to understand. Think about the last time you got you guys know last week I slept for most of the weekend. I drove and I was active, but I slept for most of the weekend. So, you know, it can knock you out a little bit. So Slim Jimmy was good last night in the sense that he was quiet, methodical. If I was to take away any concerns, would be he didn't want to leave. The track was hard as a rock. He seemed fine after. He ate his supper, ate his breakfast this morning. I saw him in the stall. He seemed great. Everybody that worked hard yesterday looked good today. I still think that the Dustin horse may be a little underweight. That'll happen. You know, when you get when you're stressed out, that will happen. But he schooled great yesterday. I snuck him a little brand mash here at 11 o'clock. As I said, what we like to do, I'm getting off track a little bit, but what we like to do with a lot of those horses is jog them early, or if they didn't move, give them maybe a little early lunch and then a little later lunch also. Try to sneak an extra meal into those horses because they need it, a couple of them, and he's one of them. So we're just trying to figure out where we're going to race Dustin Hanover. We did enter him in Scioto, but if you guys remember, Scioto is Ohio owned or bred first and foremost. Their box is full right now all the time, and he is neither Ohio owned or sired. And you might say, well, somebody in Ohio owns him. Well, it has to be wholly owned Ohio or sired. So the chance of getting in are unlikely. That means he'll probably come to the Meadows next week. I was happy with what I saw from this horse at Northfield yesterday. I saw a big improvement both mentally and physically from the first week we schooled him in 57 and a piece to yesterday. Now, much slower, but there was still something there. I saw a flicker there, and he did his work well. Mechanically, I saw a big improvement. So happy with him. Now, back to what happened. Slim Jimmy raced great. You know, just showed how tough he is. Ended up first over. I kind of slid him in, just let him stall there for a minute in the last turn, moved him again. Now that was his second, third move in the mile, and ended up fending off another horse that just followed me the whole way. So a good mile, a good race for Slim Jimmy. But I liked what I saw in his approach to the race. He wasn't excited. He wasn't wound up. I just let him fall off the gate, get away sixth, ended up second over. His work was well last night, so very happy with him. And then obviously in the last race, I told you guys, you know, I was going to try my hardest to atone for an abomination of a drive I gave that poor horse the week before. Took him off the gate. Yeah, we had some luck with breakers, but they did make breaks in front of him. Didn't bother him at all. He just went about his work. I could have filed him 4 wide in the last turn, but I opted for what could have been a blind switch. We kind of snuck him through late, kind of weaved through in a tight spot late. And I thought I was a winner, but we ended up second and raced very good, but showed some poise also. Here's a horse that we don't really know a whole lot about him, right? Except that when you drive him really bad, he races really bad. That's really all we know about him at this point. And, you know, I think his last half was 58, 57 and 4 last night, last quarter 29, but lunged at the leader at the wire. So has that, even though he's not perfect, still a little bumpy in spots. I don't really know why. We're going to work with him, but still an opportunity to lunge at the wire, and he did. He did and tried to get there. As far as he knows, he won the race. So a good mile from Frosty Trouble last night. I told you guys today was all about two things. I wanted to get a look under the hood at Purple Aura, and did I? She's ready to rock. She's ready for a big mile, this filly. And I know that Virgil Morgan's fillies, those two fillies, are razor sharp coming in, but they'd want to be razor sharp on Monday. We are going to race her in the final. I am going to try my hardest to drive her. I do have a lot on my dance card. Just Monday alone, we have a very pivotal start in Aschooler AM summer racing is Monday. She is short. Her AST is going to be a bit high. It is not going to be a glamorous race. She's not going to go out and win and run off the screen, but she needs to stay flat. She needs to do her work, and I want to assess her overall performance on Monday. Can't do that from another country. We have Purple Aura racing in the afternoon in Columbus. I want to be there for Purple Aura on Monday. And then probably one of the most important races of the day I can't make, and that's Bomb Hugger in Vernon Downs. Corey Stratton had called me and said, we get Dave Miller, Tyler Buter, Jason Bartlett. I said, whoever you think will fit. I think you got her dialed in now, whatever you think. Calls me back. He says, yep, none of those guys are going now. They all decided they're not going. He said, Anthony, there's just regional guys. He said, I can drive her. I'll be honest. I'm a little embarrassed. Corey watches this. I apologize. I didn't know that he drove that much. Probably a lot of people don't know that I drive that much. But he's had a pretty good year, and he's had a pretty good run. So he knows the filly. I said, Corey, you drive her then. Let's be honest. We're not beating Joviality. Probably one of the best fillies in the world. Definitely on this continent. Definitely North America right now is Joviality. Extremely good filly. And we drew in with her on a 7/8 mile track. The only way we beat Joviality is if Joviality beats herself. That's the simple reality of the situation. I know it. You know it. Just the way it is. That's not a defeatist attitude. Now you have to work your way around Joviality. If she's weak, if she's not on top of her game, how do we beat her? But let's not go in thinking that you're going to overpower a filly that is a powerful filly. So follow, try and get a second, try and scab a deuce if you can. That's the plan for Monday. There was no real need for me to go to Vernon. Bomb Hugger's dialed in now. Corey's got a good feel for her, and I'm excited to see Corey drive the filly. I mean, yes, he's not John Campbell, neither am I. Guy does a good job, and I'm eager to see what he's going to do with Bomb Hugger on Monday. So we have Bomb Hugger, Purple Aura, 1-2 Skip a few, and Aschooler AM, and a host of others racing. Now we do have some bad news for Monday, and a lot of people are going to take this wrong, going to take this bad. I knew I was pissed when I heard it. Non-winners of 2 and the non-winners of 3 are not going to fill on Monday. The race secretary just called me, and I appreciate the fact that they did call. So his options were simple: sit, which we can't do; qualify, which we can do; or race her in the non-winners of 5 against Aschooler AM. Now, I called James. I said, I'm sure you have other drives in there. I think PL, whatever, the thing he went in 54 in a piece with is going to be in there. I said, James, what do you think? He said, Anthony, she can do the numbers of 5. She's going to drop 54, 55. I know that. Now, he didn't commit to her, but I did tell him that, just so we're clear, I know that you can't drive Aschooler AM is going to be in there, so I'm going to have to drive her. I know you can't drive Aschooler AM, but I do, even though you're driving Adair Castle, and she's a killer, and she's the best filly in the division, hopefully at some point down the road, we find a way to beat her. But right now, she looks like a monster, and has looked like a monster for quite a while. Grace is one of the only fillies to beat her last year. I suspect that's not going to happen that often by the looks of Adair Castle. Having said that, I would like you to drive the filly, and he knows that. So she is going to be entered in the non-winners of 5. James is going to be listed. I'll drive Aschooler AM, but I have to get back from Scioto, so I'm going to make a little phone call right now. 2. 1 to Mohawk asking to get in a late race. 1 to Scioto asking in an early race. And then I have to, when I get to the Meadows, go online and see if I can find a flight. I looked. I can't get a hold of Batman. I don't have the Batmobile. So, I think that's how Monday is going to shake down. Real busy Monday for me. Real busy. So that's where we're at with Purple Aura. That's where we're at with Bomb Hugger. That's where we're at with Grace. And obviously 1-2 Skip a few who trained well again today. So we'll get back to the training today. Jason and I went out and trained Purple Aura. Purple Aura was wrapped up 2.5 last half, 58, and she felt better than I've ever felt her in her life. So as I said, No disrespect to Virgil's fillies. They look like they are layovers heading into this race. But I think you're going to see a big mile from Purple Aura on Monday. 1-2 skip a few. Had the hobbles a little tight. I told him, I said, she doesn't need them tight. In fact, she won't wear them tight. They need to go out a little bit. She followed me, but at no point was she going to go by Purple Aura. And I'm not so sure that Skippy is a better horse than Purple Aura, but she's tenacious. And I think she's very smart. She's smart enough now to know when we're training and when we're racing. A little different Skippy shows up when we go to the track behind the gate. So she, in her young age, she's already figured out what's what. But the good news is when they do bring the starting gate out, she's game on every time. So I'm heading now. No, whoa, before we even move any further, maybe the most important thing today was Sweet on Pete. Gonna school her with her flip-flops on and on Lasix. I told you what I was shooting for. I didn't know how it'd be. Went out in the track, pretty windy. Looked at the group that was filing in behind the gate, a bunch of maidens and, white helmet guys, horses that they don't look like they're going to give Sweet on Pete much of a tussle. But nevertheless, she's on the gate with other horses. So I went out of there with her, 28-3. I can tell you exactly what we went. 28-3, 58 flat, 126-3, a mile and 155 flat, into a decent headwind. A very, very good mile for Sweet on Pete today. Now, a number of telling things went on in the mile. One, I felt her mildly better. She wasn't on the line at all in the last turn. She finished up stronger, less choppiness down the lane, but did get rough in the turn after. I thought she was a little bit tender on her right hind going on the track. Now, Sweet on Pete's problems are as is. We have it well documented. We know the filly inside and out. Her knees, from time to time, will pinch her, not often. Her feet do bother her quite a bit. And her one trigger, which is usually secondary in most horses, but in this case, I don't think it is, her right stifle bothers her. Now, it's not something that's horrible and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Quite the opposite. In fact, it will likely get better and better and better as she works into a bigger, stronger filly. But as a sophomore, still a very immature filly, that right stifle bothers her quite a bit. It's very important because we made the shoeing changes up front that should have helped her feet. As the rain starts to come down, don't worry, I'm still an hour and 15 minutes, from 20 minutes from the meadows. Her feet were better today. Obviously, the Lasix helped. She was stronger finishing up, but still got a little rough in the last turn after the mile. As we finished up her mile, going into the turn on a half-mile track, you could still feel her start to slow down, get a little shuffly, a little pacey, and rolled off a little bit as I let her slow down. I didn't want to make her do what she wasn't comfortable with. Now, we haven't scoped her yet. I'll get a report in the scope, but I suspect it'll be clean. Telling was the fact that she still was a little shuffly in that turn after. Wasn't the feet, wasn't the Lasix. Almost most definitely was the stifle. Now, I talked to our veterinarian. I talked to Jason after, and I said, listen, let's do, first things first. We know it's probably the stifle, so how are we going to address that? We're going to inject her stifle joint. We're going to iodine her. We're going to do both. That'll be up to the veterinarian and Jason to figure out at some point today. But before we do any of that, and I love working with Mike Latessa because, I've worked with a lot of vets and I've been around a long time also. And I said to Mike, hey, could you check her over her right hind? I said, Mike, everybody, it's human nature to think. He said, I know what you're saying. He said, people get locked in on that. And that's what he said. He got locked in at that stifle. I said, exactly. We forget that she has a hock and she has an ankle also. Is there something else that could be bothering her and we're just focused on the stifle? He says, yeah. So I'll look her over with fresh eyes and we'll go from there. I said, she wasn't lame. She wasn't bad, but I could see it. It was there. So the good news was Sweet on Pete was incredible this morning, virtually by herself off the gate, 55 flat over Northfield Park. She's ready to rock. Purple Aura felt like a monster. She feels like she's ready to rock. And Skippy. She's always good, always ready to go. So I'm on my way right now to race Per Lucky in the meadows. On my way to race Per Lucky right now. Very happy with what I've seen from all of our horses. Per Lucky, I'm going to warm him up today and get a feel for him. See if I want to make a few little changes. See if the changes help. I believe they will. He's a professional. Just a nice horse. And I suspect he's going to have a good race today. All I got to do is not put him on the run leaving, which I think on a 5/8 mile track would be harder to do than not. So, by harder, I mean harder to put him on the run than not. So hopefully some good luck with Per Lucky today. Then I go home tonight, check in on a couple of horses when I get back to Mohawk, and then I'll be home hopefully for 9 o'clock to put the kiddies to bed. So with that, you guys are fully updated. I'll do a little update on Per Lucky, unless it wasn't a great race, and then I don't want to talk to you. But if it was, you'll likely get a short update from him. So I will talk to you all very soon. I hope you guys are having a good day. We have a ton of schoolers tomorrow. If you're in the area, we have 13 babies going to the track tomorrow. That's the plan. So with that, I'll let you guys go. I will talk to you all very soon. Hope you're having a great day. Take care.